Welcome to the Land Investing Business Secret Podcast, where each short episode we talk about the strategies, experiences, and the tools to help you launch, grow, and scale your land business. Learn how to find freedom within your own business, find out ways to build consistency in your processes, and hear how other everyday land investors are winning so you can get to the next step closer to building your dream life through your land business. And I'm your host of the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast by Pebble, Jessey Kwong. Hey, how's it going? It's Jessey here from the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast. I've got a special guest here. I didn't even know him, to be honest, and we kind of just crossed paths. I kind of just reached out to him. I saw he was super active in LinkedIn. He's got a lot of engagement there, and he's doing land. And in this podcast, I have no idea how to come to this episode with. I did a little research, but there was a lot of cool stuff that I saw that he was doing that most people aren't doing nowadays. And he's doing it at scale, and he's doing it with great success. So I'm really excited to talk about some of this stuff that, man, I think we talked about this stuff many, many years ago, and he's doing it. So anyways, enjoy this episode here with Hunter Pogo. All right. How's it going, everybody? I have Hunter Pogo here with me. Hunter, how are you doing, first of all?
Doing well. It's nice out. It's sunny here in Vegas, so I'm happy.
Cool. Well, I haven't actually gotten a chance to really know you, and I love that about the podcast show. It's just, I'll just kind of meet you through the podcast and get an understanding. Although, like, I did stalk you a little bit and check out what you're up to, and really cool stuff. You're in the land space. You're in the land flipping space. Help us understand, how did you get started in the land flipping space?
Yeah, it was by mistake. So at the time I was in college and I was doing like wholesaling and I was working with the guy who was doing flips and everything. And that was my introduction to real estate. And I just saw it was a lake property. It was kind of by my house. It was like an hour away. And I just liked it. I wanted it for myself because it was cheap. Like it was listed, it was 2.5 acres for 25 grand on a lake. And so it was a good deal. But I ended up talking the guy down to 9 grand for it. So I bought it and I was just going to keep it for myself to like go camping on and then like go to the lake on the weekend. But I didn't really know anything about zoning or anything at the time. So the property couldn't actually put a camper on it. And there's a 1,200 square foot minimum to build. And I was in college at the time. So I was like, okay, that's more than I can afford to do. But I'd already put in like a little driveway on the property, like a gravel driveway, and I cleared it out a little bit to get it ready. So it had access to it. And then, I couldn't use it. So I listed it for sale and I sold it on a contract for deed for 37.5. And then I collected like, I forget if I think it was 13,000 that I collected off that contract for deed. They canceled it. They didn't want it anymore for like personal reasons. And then I sold it again for cash, 37.5 again. So in total, I grossed 50 on it. So I netted about 40 grand off of that one property. And then I was like, oh, that was pretty easy. It was a lot easier than like the wholesaling stuff I was doing and like college. So, but I still finished college. But I just started repeating that process again. I was like, let's try it out. Let's do a couple more properties and try to, flip them somewhat like that. And then I scaled it up. And then, just been reinvesting every year. And then last year I got up to a little bit over 100 of those that I did.
Whoa. All right. So let's come out. Now, first of all, looking back at it, would you have considered keeping that first property?
Yeah, I mean, I would have kept it if I had that use for it. So like if I was able to use it for camping, because that's basically what I wanted, was just like put an RV and go there on the weekend. I would have kept it, and then I probably would have never started doing land. But that's probably good that that happened.
All happened for a reason. Okay, awesome. And contract for deed. Typically, I hear the term seller financing. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, seller financing, contract for deed of trust. All the same thing, just different legal contract that you're doing.
Yeah. So you asked for 13.5 down on that property?
No, it was a few thousand down. I think it was like 5 grand down or something like that. And then they had made a few payments, like they had paid over a few months. And then at that point, I think they got divorced. That's what it was. So then they didn't want it anymore. So it was a couple months of payments that added up to that 13,000.
Okay. So you did that, and that was what, 2 acres? Is that right?
Yeah,
So
two and a half
two and
acres.
a half acres, and smaller size, um, and so it's my understanding from what I watched, checking you out, you like to focus on smaller lots or smaller parcels. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, that's in land. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can do land and you can invest in land. I like to stay with the small ones because you can still get them at a really cheap price, and then you can mark them up, and then your percentage, like the return that you're getting, you can still get 3, 4, 5, 10x returns on them. When you get into the bigger properties, it's a lot harder to get a 10x return on a 40-acre plot versus like a half acre. So I like to just do volume of the small ones because that's going to get me the highest return for my capital. So that's why I like that's the way I do it.
No, and that's cool. And I know people that do it that way too, and you're sort of in that volume game. Help us understand. What do you? I mean, there's pros and cons going both sides here, right? So we're in the volume game here. What are some things that you realized about volume? Playing the volume route. What do you have to do? What do you think you have to do differently to keep up with volume?
Yeah. I don't know, because like for me, so doing 100 in a year, that's volume for me, right? So two a week, basically, like two a week. But if you look at it like that, like two a week isn't that hard to do or that hard to manage. Because I mean, if that's all you're doing, it's just two closings that you have to manage, basically two buying and two selling. So I mean, that's not hard, and then you just have your system set up. So basically, what I do is, so I have my team, and basically they do all of the selling sides, like they do the listings, the marketing, like email campaigns, whatever it is that we do to sell the properties. They handle all of that, and basically all I do now is just talking to sellers and buying the properties. Buy it low enough, it's hard to lose on it. So that's what I like to focus on, is just making sure we can get everything for the cheapest price possible. Then I hand it off, and then it's pushed out and sold.
How big is your team right now, Hunter?
I have two VAs and then a couple people that sell on commission.
Okay. Okay. So you really just focus on the acquisition side. You leave the disposition to your team to handle.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you really don't get into the weeds with dispositions at all. Then,
Not really. It's just signing,
yeah,
basically, going to closing.
that sounds nice. When you're saying the smaller parcels, I don't know if you said cheaper parcels, but um, well, I'm assuming that I'll make that assumption. But what sort of a price range are you sort of targeting for, in size range as well?
Yeah. So most stuff I do is going to be under 5 acres. I do stuff that's, so when I say like most, like 90%, and then there's 10% that are doing other things, but most of them are under 5 acres. And then for price point, I'd say majority. Again, like on the bell curve, when we're talking majority, they're going to be like I'm buying them $4,000 to $8,000 is probably what I buy a lot for, and then selling it, I'd say on average is going 15 to 40, somewhere in that range. Um,
That's a pretty wide spread. I mean, where would average? Where do most of them hang around that 15 to 40?
uh, Probably it's, if you did like if you went and calculated the average between of everything I've done, it'd probably be around like 27, 28. So it's
Yeah, right in the middle there. Okay, very cool. All right, so you're doing smaller parcels. You're looking at lower prices as well. I'm assuming none of these are infill lots. These are more rural land. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So the type of land I like to focus on is going to be the recreational rural. So where you can have, you just want the most unrestricted. So stuff for camping, hunting, lake properties, tiny houses, short term rental, uh, within 1 to 3 hours of a major city.
Okay. Okay. Um, so if you're doing that much volume, what does marketing look like? What does your acquisition side look like here?
Yeah. All I do right now, for the most part, is direct mail. So 90%, 80% is direct mail. Maybe another small portion is tax auctions, and then another portion is going to be on market. So just sending out. That's another system that we have set up, is just lowballing everything that gets posted that's in our market, and occasionally you get a deal out of that. So
Are you talking about the auction side of things?
No, so lowballing everything on markets, like everything on the MLS. If it's in our markets that we're focused on,
You're gonna send a letter out there. You're gonna lowball for it,
yep.
and has that worked?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's like 10% of the deals probably is on market, 10% auctions, and I'd say like 80% is the off market direct mail.
This is awesome to hear. So, I've heard. I think it's like the last few guests I've had on this podcast. It's like everybody's back in the direct mail game and finding success here. And a lot of people had left direct mailing. And okay, for those of you guys that are listening, this is solely based on people that I bring onto the podcast. I actually don't know Hunter, and it's not like I planned that at all. I just wanted to say this is an observation I've had with direct mailing. Curious, whatever you're willing to share about your direct mailing. What is that? Are you making an offer? Is it a letter? Is it a postcard? Like, what are you currently doing with your direct mailing?
Yeah,
Whatever you want to share. I won't pressure you on that.
yeah. I mean, I do it differently than a lot of people. So I mean, I don't like doing blind offers, just because with a blind offer, I've especially with these type of properties that I'm buying, like these cheap ones. I feel like if I were to make a blind offer, I'd either one offend a lot of people because I'd be doing it too low, um, and then I wouldn't even get the chance to make an offer with them because they're not going to reach back out to me. Two, I'd be overpaying for a lot of people because a lot of them they bought these properties for like nothing, so they don't really need that much in the first place. So I think it's really hard with the cheap ones to nail down a price point. I don't do blind offers, and I don't do. I mean, there's a lot of different creative ways to do it, but basically, it's just you try to be different than everybody else because there are a lot of people that do direct mail, and if you just send out a postcard that says you want to, make an offer on their land, you're not going to stand out, and you're just going to look like spam mail. So you have to be creative in how you do it.
All right, so you heard that someone like Hunter here is doing mailing. He's really honed in on his mailing, and I think being different in your mailing is so important. One of the things that I know that a lot of people don't take advantage with our mailing platform inside of Pebble is the ability to print satellite images of every single property you're mailing out to. There's no extra charge for this. No other mail house is going to ever do this. I wish I had one, but I gave it to one of my team members. But you literally can print the satellite image, like think about it as a Google Earth view with a pin and circle that says, "Hey, is this your property?" You can do that for postcards. You can do that on a full windowed envelope. So when they see that mailer, they see their own property on there. You can do that for neighbor letters. There's so much flexibility built into Pebble's mailing platform. Now, Pebble is not a mailing platform only. Obviously, we do things like follow up, phone system built in, tracking properties. You can do your due diligence inside of Pebble now. All of that is built into one platform because we believe that building systems, especially repeatable systems, when you have a source of truth and you can centralize a majority of your operations, it makes it so much easier. So if you're interested in learning more, make sure you head over to pebblerei.com and hit the book a demo button. Anyways, enjoy this rest of the episode here with Hunter. All right, so we've got this. Now we understand your uh, the kind of properties you're going after, how you're offloading them. Um, Tell us a little bit about is it the tax auctions that you kind of go for as well? I know you made a post on your LinkedIn, and by the way, if you haven't checked out Hunter's LinkedIn, well, is it okay we put that
Yeah, yeah,
in the show notes? Yeah, he shares a lot on LinkedIn, and so I'm new to LinkedIn. And by the way, if you're on LinkedIn, make sure you add both of us or connect with both of us. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the auction side of things because I saw you were just showing your screen there, and you're winning a bunch of properties that way.
yeah. It's still not like a majority, so still it's a small percentage of what I do, but people on LinkedIn like it, so that's why I post about it because it sounds interesting. But yeah, I mean, basically, it's if you're working in a market that you do a lot of deals there, I just look and see if they have any tax forfeiture auctions, and occasionally they have some properties that are worth bidding on. But that's basically it. It's they don't have auctions all the time. Usually they're like once or twice a year, and then they have their list of properties that are going for sale, and then you just go to your due diligence on the list, and then the ones that I'm interested in, I'll bid on, and then I'll buy them.
I've never bidded on anything online other than eBay. I mean, is it as simple as eBay, or I don't even know if eBay is like probably past you. I'm probably aging myself right now, but yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, no, it's kind of fun because I'll be just like online spending like 50 grand on just by clicking a button. So so it's that's basically what it is.
Is it? Is it all online nowadays?
It depends on the county. Every county is going to post it in a different spot. Some will have them like at the courthouse. Some will have them online. So you get to do both. It just depends where they post it. But a lot more I've seen recently are online. When I started, there was a lot more in person. So it was kind of fun going to like an auction house and like raising the bidding card.
Right, right, right. Okay, let's come back to your acquisition side of things. Dealing with smaller properties. What are some things that we have to kind of keep in mind? That again, lessons maybe that you didn't realize coming from the wholesaling world. Now you've learned, especially dealing with the kind of properties that you're dealing with. Again, it's not too often. I hear a lot of people moving away from smaller properties and getting into the bigger ones. They want to do less deals, but it's more work, and you're going the other way now. Uh, Help us understand. What are some things to keep in mind when it comes to smaller properties?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, like that I look for when I'm buying land, is going to be the zoning, the location, and the price. Those are the three things. So zoning, you want to make sure that, especially when you have these smaller properties, that you're going to be able to have these uses. So they're not going to be too small for a septic system. They're not going to be that you're going to have water rights. You're able to have a well on them. That you're not going to be within the setbacks. You have to make sure with, especially like properties, if they're like a quarter acre, that setbacks aren't like 100 feet or something where you're not going to have any buildable areas. So you have to look at your setbacks. You have to look at if there's any wetlands in the area to make sure, again, that you're not on wetlands or you don't have setbacks from those wetlands. So it's a lot of the zoning issues that you have to look into when you're dealing with the small ones because you can run into a lot more things compared to if you buy a 10-acre property. There's going to be a use for it for the most part. But when you have the small ones, you really have to look into the zoning. So that's the one thing. The location, like I said, it has to be within 1 to 3 hours of a major city. 'Cause, you don't want to be in the middle of nowhere because these properties are used for mostly like I like to say like cabin type properties. That's what I try to buy. Um, so if it's longer than 3 hours, people aren't going to want to drive to that on the weekend. If it's closer than an hour, the that's where it gets into the price. The prices probably aren't going to be as good, where you're not going to be able to get them cheap enough and then mark them up high enough because it's just more of a normalized market at that range. So like 1 to 3 hours is where I tend to stay, and then it has to have with that location. It has to have like something physical, like a reason for somebody to want to go to that, like a physical attribute of it. So like, is there a lake nearby? Is there a national park? Is there a river? Is there like forested area that people go hunting in? Like there has to be a reason for that. So like living in Las Vegas, I don't do land out here because you drive 1 to 3 hours outside of Las Vegas and you're in the middle of the desert and nobody wants to go there. So I don't do that. I've done it before. So like Pahrump is near Las Vegas. I've only bought it just because I live here, but uh, I think a lot of people, especially if they're in land, have probably looked at like stuff in like Pahrump or like Arizona or something. I feel like that's a lot of people talk about that on like YouTube. I don't like doing those just because they don't hit my use cases. There's no point of buying a lot of those properties. So
Right, right. You mentioned to make sure you've got the right zoning. It makes me think about my first 1 acre lot that I bought out in Oregon. It was in like a desert lot. You couldn't do anything on it. You zoned to do nothing on there. It was on the side of the highway, no road access. It was just barren. But once I listed, I had three people immediately message me. They wanted to go do stuff on it and they wanted to camp on it or whatever, but you're not allowed to.
mhm.
Do you ever say like, you know what, screw it, like I'll just pick it up for cheap? A lot of people don't even know what they're buying. I mean, I'm sure that happens, right? I mean, you kind of fell into that.
Yeah. I mean, there's always like a base value of a piece of land, I suppose. So like if you're buying it so cheap that it's below that base value, I'll buy it. So it's not like when I say most of my deals are going to be within the normality of what I'm doing. That's what I'm looking for. But I'll still buy stuff that's not zoned for RVs or it's not zoned for tiny houses or whatever. Like I'll still buy it if it's cheap enough. So I mean, price is really the biggest thing. If if somebody's gonna give you a Lamborghini for $10, like, well, you're gonna take it. It's the same thing with like land. You buy a piece of land, it's so cheap. I'll take it.
Sure, sure. Okay. Um, Hunter, what else do you think you're doing differently? I know you mentioned you know you I would have imagined some of the skill sets or some of the things that you realized when you were wholesaling houses. You know, you've seen a lot there. I mean, it's just a lot further than land, I would say. But I don't know what do you do differently? Maybe it's your marketing. Maybe it is the way that you negotiate. What do you feel you do differently?
A lot of people do it probably, but I do a lot of stuff on seller financing. So I sell a lot of stuff on seller financing, um, because that really helps with especially with this type of land. I probably sell to a lot of people who weren't even looking for buying land in the first place. So they come across like one of our listings, and it's for only $9.99 down, you can have a piece of land where it's already cleared out. You can pull your camper in and start camping on it right away. So a lot of people are scrolling through Facebook and they see that $9.99 down, $500 a month, and they can own a piece of land. Uh, we sell to a lot of people just like that because it's kind of like an impulse purchase for a lot of people where they weren't even looking for land um, at that time. So seller financing helps with that because they don't need uh, anything really. Like they just need a small down payment, and they don't have to go get approve for it. They don't have to have 50 grand in the bank to go buy it. So seller financing plays a huge part of what I do.
That's interesting. So help us understand, how do you structure the seller financing, and then what happens if you got a ton of these? Like, how are you going to chase all of these? Do you have somebody managing it? Like, I haven't talked about seller financing in a long time on this show. Like,
Mhm.
and I'm glad you're bringing this up. Like, how does this all look like for for you nowadays?
Yeah, I enjoy doing the seller financing deals because it creates a, a passive income for me, basically, where every month, even if I stop doing any land, like I'm still going to have payments coming in from people who are paying me for a contract for deed. Like one deal by itself isn't going to be life changing, but when you start doing 10, 20, 30, like 50 of them, and they're all making payments of a few $100s, then it starts to add up every month that they're coming in. So managing it isn't very hard. I mean, it's just I still just let people pay through Zelle or like check or whatever they want to do. Really, Cash App. I mean, I let people pay however they want to pay. Um,
I
'cause
can't imagine like 50 checks coming in and you have to handle all of that. But hey, I
it's
mean,
it's not bad. I mean, you have a VA that handles everything electronic, and then I just go through my checks. But then it's pretty simple. I mean, you just have a spreadsheet. You say everybody who's paid this month, and then you go through who hasn't paid. They get an email or something or a text that reminds them to pay. And then I'm pretty lenient with people. Like I don't foreclose on them like the first month that they're late on a payment. Like I've let some people go up to a few months, just especially the ones who have been paying for a couple of years because like they've already paid so much money. I'll be lenient with them and catching back up. Um, but I've never had to actually go through like the full like foreclosure process basically of like taking somebody and foreclosing on them. Everybody that hasn't wanted the property will sign what's needed to give me back the rights. So it depends where you are. Like if you're going to do like if you're doing a contract for deed, if they have to like quit claim deed it back to you, or if you're doing like a deed of trust and you have to go through and I think there's a form you have to fill out with the deed of trust, like cancel it. But so it depends where you are and like what form they need to fill out or what contract or document they need to do. Everybody that I've had that doesn't want it anymore will just do that for me. Um, and it's because there's one like most people they don't want to have like that debt anymore. Like if they don't want the property, they don't want to have that debt, so that they'll be like, "What do we have to do to cancel it?" So most people do that, and then there are the few people who are maybe a little bit like stubborn, but then you can just kind of remind them like, this you're going to be liable for all this, and you're going to have to pay for these legal fees, and you kind of like pressure them a little bit, and then they'll sign what's needed. So I've never had to go through the whole process. It's still very simple.
typically, what is a a down on that property look like, and what does the monthly payment structure look like?
Mhm. Yeah, I'll usually try to get stuff. just sold like as fast as possible. So I'll do as low of down payment as possible. So like properties that are sub 50 grand, most of them I'll just do like 1,000 down. Um, I'll take 1,000 down to a couple thousand down. I structure my payments. So basically there's a chart they can look at. You can choose like, do they want to do 1,000 down, like 10%, 20%, 30% down, and then they want to do like 12 months up to 96 months, and then it shows what the monthly payment would be. And how I incentivize it is the bigger down payment you do, or the shorter period you do, the lower interest rate you're going to get on that contract for deed. So to incentivize people to give me money quicker because they're going to be paying a lower interest rate. Um, but yeah, so I like structuring it like that because then if it is a long contract, I'm going to be charging them the maximum interest rate I can legally charge on that property.
Are you actually spelling out the interest rate on there, or you're just putting it as a whole number so they can digest it a lot easier?
On the form, it just has like the monthly payment number. And then, I mean, in the actual contract, it's going to show what the interest rate is.
Okay, got you. And so, what does marketing look like? You have people that do this for you. But are you just posting these in Facebook groups? Are you posting this on a website, or where are you listing these?
Yeah, I have like a flow chart. There's like 27 different places that I'll post land for sale or market it.
Wow.
So like majority though, most of them are going to be the MLS, Facebook, and Craigslist. Those are going to
We're
be the
back on Craigslist. I didn't even know that. Okay. I remember for
biggest
a
three.
while,
Yep.
um, we were not allowed on Craigslist. Okay. So majority of them are still Facebook, Craigslist, and MLS. Now, with Craigslist, do we need to do anything specific to make sure we're in the safe zone here
For what
to list
have
a
you ever used
property?
it before or something, or
No, to just list the property and repost it.
I, I don't know. We just post them. I've never had.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been a while and I haven't been on Craigslist for a while. I remember back in the day we had to do all sorts of finagling to renew a post or post on there. Oh
Mhm.
man, I forget now. In fact, I think that might be even episode number 1 of this podcast
Okay.
was me by myself showing like how to set up proxies so you can post on Craigslist or something like that. For a while, they didn't allow land afterwards, but anyways, okay, very interesting.
Maybe
Um,
we get post removed every once in a while, and then
okay,
it's kind of to create a new account, try
yeah,
posting it with different formats and everything, but
yeah.
they stay up most of the time.
Um, all right. So seller financing is one area you really do things differently. Anything else you feel you do differently in terms of how you handle the land, how you acquire land, how you talk to people?
Yeah, marketing is going to be like it's really big with land, but then like I really try to systemize the marketing as well, and just have more efficient marketing. So, like for example, in my website, I try to like look at with any business, it's kind of a funnel. So it's the same thing with land. Uh, I have all these different marketing spots out here that are directing people, and I direct them to my website. Within my website's set up where they have all the properties that are available, and then as they're interested in, like maybe they saw the one property that was on one listing, it's going to have like the recommended ones that are also in the area, so you can try to somewhat upsell them. So like maybe they saw one that was listed for 15 grand, but there's one that's a little bit nicer for like 20,000. So we'll try to upsell them to like a nicer property that's in the area. And then from there, like just the layout of the page is going to have, it's just going to make sense. Like you have like good pictures and everything of it. Then you have like the information on it, like utilities and whatever the uses are for it. Going down, then like you have the videos, like drone videos, marketing, etc. Of that. Then it goes into the actual like price of the property. So there's the price, there's the financing options, and then there's a button to check out. So then right there, it's you hit buy now, and it's I do a $50 deposit is how it works, because otherwise you get people who are interested in buying the property, they say, and then you go through the work of putting the contract together, and then they flake on you. So I have them they put in the $50 deposit, fill out their information, and then they get sent the contract or the purchase agreement. and then they just go click, click, click on DocuSign and sign everything, they're- and then they're good to go. Yeah, and then they just make the payment for the down payment, and then they get mailed everything that they need. So it's like I try to streamline the process as easy for them as possible, as if they're checking out on like Amazon.
Right. And I was just gonna say, I think that's the advantage with working with smaller properties like this. You have a chance to do things like you typically would do with an e-commerce store. You can now have bump offers or upsell offers, and the other thing you mentioned earlier was also you use emails. Are you building a list and you're promoting to your buyers list as well?
Yep. Yeah. So there's two main ways that we collect the emails. It's one, like as people contact us, we'll ask to collect their information and send them information. So then we'll have that as our lead list. And then it's also just on our website, we have a VIP buyers list type thing where people can sign up. And then, yeah, the nice thing is once you have so many people that are interested, you send out that proper, whenever you have a new listing, you email out everybody on your buyers list, and they've all self-subscribed that they're interested in buying land. So you do get a lot of sales just from those customers.
Man, I love this. Like Hunter, like it's really cool to hear what you're doing, and it's like a lot of things I heard a long time ago, and like people have veered away from a lot of the fundamentals of land flipping, and like you're making this work at an insane volume and a scale level, and it's great to hear what you're doing, and you're embracing the volume. You're embracing the smaller properties, the lower prices, and you're really going at it. So, and you're doing it with a pretty lean team, right? Two VAs, which are probably just doing a lot of the administrative, collecting payments, listing properties. I'm assuming, and then what
Mhm.
is it? A person or two working on the dispo side, and you found like it sounds like you got a sweet spot just focused on acquisitions. Any magic? I feel like I'm trying to look for some sort of a magic formula that you have, but I'm just not pulling anything. But I think the magic formula is you're just sticking to what works for you. Do you do anything magical about the areas that you're looking at, and when are you have you found areas that really work well, or this works all over the place type of thing?
Yeah, it works everywhere where there's like that cabin type culture. So that's the niche that I'm in. But that's most places besides Las Vegas and Arizona. So I mean, most places are going to have like trees and lakes and everything. So yeah, I mean, it really works anywhere. I think the reason that it just works well for me is um, just being really efficient with like having your system set up, so like being able to repeat those. So as long as you can do that, um, yeah, deals aren't hard to find. Like I definitely have more deals available than I have capital to buy deals. So that's like the pipeline. Or that's the bottleneck is just money, because you want, especially when you have a lot of stuff locked up in contract for deed. Um, you know, you get your money back every month, but then you can only, to scale up, you need to have more cash sales, or have another way to keep buying land. So that's like the bottleneck is just money.
Yeah. So how do you think you're going to overcome that then?
Yeah. I've been doing some JV deals lately to help with that. But yeah, that's probably like the next thing I need to work on is raising more money, because I've basically for the most part I just buy everything in cash to make it simple, and I like it like that because then I don't have to worry about paying anybody back or doing anything.
I think it's like what works for you and what do you enjoy. Like I think that's super super important. Okay, Hunter, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. I'm sure we're going to chat more after this, but help us understand. If people want to connect with you, people want to learn more about you. What do you have out there that people can find you at?
Yeah. Instagram's great to connect with me. So it's just Hunter Pogo, Hunter Pogo on Instagram. Then my website is selltheearth.com. So teach more about land there, as well as I just have other resources, and you can reach out to me there too. So those are the two big ways to contact me. LinkedIn as well. But
Not a
yeah,
lot of land investors on LinkedIn, I'll tell you that.
yeah,
Okay, so we'll make sure it's selltheearth.com. I'll make sure to put that on. Is there anything that you want to talk about? I know you do a little bit. I think I stalked you before this. You do have a program. I didn't even know that when I first came in contact with you, but I want to make sure you get a chance to share a little bit what you're doing and how you're helping others. But is that a course? Is it coaching? Can you help us understand that?
yeah. The two things I offer right now, and it'll probably change over time, but right now I just do like a group coaching, or I'll do one-on-one coaching with somebody. Um, yeah, I mean, then the reason I do it is it's one, it helps me learn because when I first started, it was a couple of years ago, like somebody wanted to learn, so like I was like, sure, I'll teach you, and like they bring back like stuff that I didn't think about before. I was like, oh, that kind of something to think about because I mean, a lot of the things I just keep doing over and over because that's what works, but it's nice to get like other opinions. So I like it for that. And then it is more like income just for me that I can go and reinvest in the land. So it works for both parties, but that's why I started doing it, and it is fun. Like one of the students that I have uh, is a black belt in jujitsu, and he just yesterday he brought me to one of his classes. So I've never done it before, but we were on like a coaching call, and then he's like, "Hey, you want to go to a class?" I was like, "Sure, I'll try it out." So it's kind
How'd
of
you like
fun.
jujitsu? I started that last year.
You did okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It
yeah.
was I'll go back for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. We were just talking before this. When I touched down in Las Vegas, I drove by the UFC Performance Institute there, so I'm a big UFC fan. But anyways,
Yeah,
awesome. Okay, well, hey Hunter, thank you so much for coming on the show, being open to you don't even know who I am and all this kind of stuff, and just sharing with our audience here. So we really appreciate it. I'd love to have you back on in the future. But once again, thanks so much for coming on, Hunter.
yeah. Thanks. It was good talking.
All right, take care. Cheers. Before you stop this episode or hit the next episode, I want to personally thank you for listening to this episode of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast by Pebble. If you found this helpful, we greatly appreciate any awesome reviews and ratings on whichever platform you are listening to this on. And if you have 2 minutes and wanted to step it up even more and help others, feel free to share this in other Facebook groups or pages or any communities, giving others a heads up of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast or the specific episode that may help them on their land investing journey. Once again, thanks so much for listening, and catch you on our next episode.